In episode number 265, we cover the latest Justice League trailer, featuring Aquaman, Batman, Cyborg, the Earth's mightiest heroes. We also have the latest from New York Comic-Con, lots of controversy, but also a lot of really cool stuff. The day I've been waiting for. Kelli will talk about it when she returns. When she returns, who we're going to have today. Batman the Animated Series on fucking Blu-ray. It is the greatest year ever. All of this and so much more on today's show. Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. If you listened to last week's episode number 264, you know that Kelli is MIA. She is taking a break because of little Leo, our young child that is now a part of this world, the latest Broquette that has joined the Broquette Corps. And because of that, I did reach out to a bunch of listeners, a bunch of Broquettes, and they came forward in full swing to help out Kelli, to volunteer to co-host the show every single week as we, I didn't want to just take a break. I did my best to try to have some kind of show every single, weekly, the thing that you are used to bring you the news. And because of that, for the next 7 or 8 episodes, we're going to have a different voice on the other side. If Kelli can join us sooner, she will. We'll still have the guest on too. But today we do have a good friend of mine. You've heard him numerous times on the podcast. He interacts with the show. He helps us out on Patreon. He helps us out with the Super NES Classic. That gives it away right there. You know exactly who I'm talking about. And on today's show, my good friend and one of the classic Broquettes. And this is Mr. @Cuban Slim, Bobby himself. Welcome to the show, Bobby.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me. And more importantly, congratulations to you and Kelli. Amazing.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was very nerve-wracking. It's the hardest thing I've ever, had to watch my wife go through. It's scary. It's everything that they tell you it is. They're not bullshitting, but absolutely. Thank you so much. It's very rewarding, and we've been really lucky so far that he is a healthy boy. But you yourself, this isn't the first time you've done a podcast, correct?
No, I've actually done my own podcast for a little while. It was about a year ago. We went, 5, 6 episodes, and there were so many of us. There was 4 of us on that podcast, so our conflicting schedules, it kind of fell apart a little bit. We have plans to kind of get it back together. Mm-hmm. It's just that our work schedules are all over the place. What
kind of podcast did you have?
It's called The Archive, so if anybody wants to check it out, it's The Archive podcast. It's we have it uploaded on SoundCloud. There's also a Facebook page dedicated to it as well. We pretty much just covered all areas of the spectrum. Like, we had a guy that was really into automotive, classic cars, restoring cars and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So he would talk about car parts and things like that. He also was the same guy that was really into craft beers. So we would have a craft beer that we would sample throughout the show and talk about it, and talk about the brewery that it came from and stuff like that. I would bring some of the sports knowledge to the table, as well as some video game news, whatever current events we were talking about, some comic stuff. One of the guys was really heavy into music. He plays guitar and drums, so he would talk about some music, classical music or rock music. And then one of the other guys would bring a lot of the video game knowledge, because he used to play professionally. He was on the MLG at one point. So he would bring a lot of that knowledge, and the Twitch scene. He still streams on Twitch, does a lot of what am I trying to think of? Fundraisers. He does a lot of fundraisers on Twitch still. So you put all those 4 categories together, the main categories, and we pop out a show with weekly information. Did it for a few weeks. It was fun. But like I said, our schedules are so all over the place. We've had to take a little break.
Who had the bulk responsibility of editing the show and uploading it and all that?
That went to my buddy Tony. He was the one that had all the audio equipment. He had all the mics, all the booms. He had the soundboard and everything, so he would just take it and go and edit it. Simple, he wouldn't use anything extravagant. He used GarageBand and just go through and level out the audio and then throw it up there. Wasn't amazing, but I guess because of the amount of good equipment he has, because he's a musician and he's a major in sound audio production, he's able to, he has the high-end equipment and have the low suffrage on software to balance it out.
All right, that's awesome. I hope you do eventually do the podcast again. But in the meantime, this is your first time on the Reasons I'm Broke podcast. Is it weird kind of sitting here and being a part of the news for the first time?
Yeah, instead of listening to it, I can be a part of it. So it's gonna be weird listening to my own episode. It's gonna be pretty weird, but cool.
When we had Tim Yates on, he ended up going into listener mode, and he was just hearing Kelly and I, and then we'd go to him, and he's like, "Oh, what? Oh, I'm sorry, I got used to just
turn.
hearing."
Yeah, it's my turn.
So thank you again, Bobby, for coming on the show, for helping me, Kelly, and out, and for the rest of the Brokettes. You know, you're providing something different, a fresh take on some of the news. Obviously, Kelly and I agree and disagree on a lot of the same and different things, but this will be fun. Every week, we're going to have someone different on the show, and you have the show notes. You know what's going to happen here, and let's have ourselves something different, and I hope everyone out there does enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to start this off on a good note, since you said the show notes may differ. I don't see anything on here regarding the UFC Hurricane Irma that's missing from my pages here. I think we need to review that.
Yeah, this is the same Bobby who I do owe 2 drinks for, because Ale House pussied out, ended up closing. They tapped out to Hurricane Irma when they shouldn't have. The damn storm didn't come until the next day at night. They had no reason to close, and they did anyway, so I lost the bet. And yes, I did buy you 2 drinks at Epcot when we went to Food and Wine. We got the German beer that we got ripped off on. And then, what was the other one? It was like the Florida? I can't remember what the last drink was. We were like pretty out there at that point.
Yeah, I think it was over near Poland. I can't remember what. Oh, it was another Hefeweizen. It was like a raspberry or something, Hefeweizen. And you quickly stood up and said, "Oh, I got this one. Got to get that other drink out of the way."
I can't have you holding that over my head.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, that was good times. That was fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Yeah,
yes.
Irma did her work, and I get my hashtag told you so, and I was the winner. So Mace, if you're listening to this, no facepalm for me. I won.
Yeah, I was the bigger casualty out of all this. People lost their homes. People had roofs collapse, but I lost the bet. I had to buy alcohol that wasn't for me.
Yes.
So before we jump into the news, let's head into the hashtag games for the week. So the hashtag game for this week, I don't know if you thought of one, Bobby, but the hashtag is modern day curses. My response, and I put it up on Facebook, it was, may you have to wait for your significant other to watch your favorite TV shows.
Yeah, that's a good one. I kind of suffer from that problem. I didn't get to post one. I did see that pop up, but it was one of those times where I'm looking at something and had to put my phone away because I'm at work or whatever, and then I never got back to it. My modern day curse, just to share with everybody, would be go to get some laundry for the day to wear, and you have nothing, whether it be socks or whatever.
That is a modern day curse. I mean, that's you decide whether you're going to wear something filthy and stink for the day, or if you can maybe make it to Target or Walmart and buy a whole pack when you only need a pair of socks. It's first world problems, right?
Yep, first world problems.
Nicholas on Facebook had his own entry. May there always be a line for coffee wherever you go.
I feel like that's something that Kelly suffers from, probably.
Let me tell you, we got Starbucks the other day. She had it for the first time. She could not wait because during the pregnancy, her body decided that she didn't like coffee anymore.
Yeah.
Sure enough, she bounced right back. She ordered herself some salted caramel iced frap. I never know how to order these things. Like at Starbucks, I get confused because there's so many different names and types of things. Plus, I'm brown. Like I don't order frappuccino, iced, caramel, light, 2 pumps. Like I don't know any of that. I'm just like, can I just get like a vanilla iced coffee and that's it? So she got hers and she drank it and she enjoyed it. Her body was right back to it. She loves coffee again. And then we got Taco Bell the day we were coming home with Leo, and sure enough, she enjoyed it just fine. Yeah.
She wasn't kidding.
It worked out really well. Another hashtag game. We had a couple of responses. Hashtag breakfast a comic book. My response was Arkham Asylum, a serious house of pancakes.
That's a good one. I had my own response. Mine was Batman and Robin with a side of bacon.
And Nicholas, once again, Green Lantern, blackest coffee.
I see a theme here. He likes coffee because he responded to modern day curses with coffee, and he went on with the breakfast a comic book with coffee as well. So I think Nicholas must be a really heavy coffee drinker as well.
He's got to be. He's going to be on the show in several episodes from now. So I could always, if I remember, I'll ask him.
Nice.
But if you do follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/The Reasons I'm Broke, or on Twitter @Reasons I'm Broke, that's where we put up the hashtag games. Feel free to respond, and we may feature it on the podcast. Mr. Bobby, I'll give you the honor. Go ahead and kick it off with our first news item.
Okay. This one I'm actually excited about. I can give a lot of insight here. We got Hasbro will be relaunching its Mighty Mugs vinyl figures in 2018, starting with Marvel and Star Wars properties.
That shit came out of left field.
Yeah, I'm actually a big Mighty Mugs collector. They went away. I don't know what happened to them, but they went away. I have all the Transformers ones from Gen 1.
Nice.
I also have the Marvel ones when they first launched the MCU. So we're talking like, I want to say like 2007, 2008. I think that's when Iron Man came out, right? The first movie?
Yeah, I believe it was 2008. People think it is a long time ago. People think that it's more recent, but the MCU has been around for a long time. I was still in high school, I believe, when... I had just graduated when we first heard the Avengers Initiative, and we're like, holy shit, they're going to do Avengers when I'm 23 or whatever.
Yeah, that's insane. But yeah, while the relaunched toys come in a smaller size, the new features this time around will include changing the character's expression with a tap of the figure's head. That's actually pretty interesting. And stackable cases. That's interesting too. I'm wondering if the cases will be sold separately.
If they're popular enough, I'm sure they will be, because they do them for Funko Pops. These are set to release January 2018 at a price point of $9.99, which is just under the Funko Pop price. And yes, I definitely agree. The Mighty Mugs, for all intents and purposes, are better figurines than Pops. It just happened to be that, as you mentioned, for some reason the Mighty Mugs faded away. Either they overproduced, or people just stopped biting, or the licensing became too expensive. They were the original Funko Pops, but maybe a little bit too early. Then all of a sudden, the Funko comes around and blows. This is a massive market. Some shops stay afloat on this shit. It's incredible how many Pops they have and how people are still buying them. I predicted that there'd be a bubble burst in about a year, and that was a year ago, and they're still going strong. So whatever Funko is doing, they are keeping them just in demand enough to where people will still buy them without feeling like they're overrun with it. But now we have what is arguably a better product. Yes, they're smaller, interchangeable faces. They always came with accessories. I always thought they looked better, but Funko has since stepped up its game too, where the figurines are looking more detailed. Some of them come with an accessory, like Chewbacca has the little penguin thing, whatever they're called, pogolos. And it might have been a little bit too late for Mighty Mugs to try to make a comeback.
I don't know. Like the price point alone is gonna push it. Like I don't think these were $9.99 when I was buying them. I think they were $7.99 if I remember correctly. And they're just it's hard to place it. They're just under the size of a normal Funko Pop, but their design, if you want to compare it, is very simple to like a meeple in a board game. It's got that generic design, so it's a very, very simple design for the figure. But the most important thing that I liked about it is it was a full figure, head and body connected. Mm-hmm. And I think the head turned, and then later on when they had more lines just towards the ends of their life cycle, I think the arms moved up. I could be wrong, but I never opened mine, so I don't know. I kept them all. They're all encased. But the main thing is, like, you look at your pops. Your pops are essentially bobbleheads. They are.
Right.
They got the spring on it, and it's a bobblehead. That's the one thing I don't like about pops. I don't even open those. I only have a few of those. And as a matter of fact, I stopped by your shop a few weeks ago, and I picked up the Hulk one from the Planet Hulk movie that's coming out in November. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm obsessed with Planet Hulk. Side tangent. So that I have to buy Hulk stuff, and we got Planet Hulk coming out this November. And I need to have that pop because he looks amazing. That's my favorite Hulk is Planet Hulk. Anyways, back to the original. The pops have the bobblehead, which I dislike because I just hate bobbleheads. But some of them look cool and the properties I might want. So I only own like 5 pops total. Whereas the Mighty Mugs, I bought every single one of them, and I even bought some of the exclusive mini mugs that they had. They were like a little bit smaller, and they made a full Avengers line of those, and then they made a full Transformers line. So I have all of those. And then I have the exclusives from Target had some exclusives, Toys R Us had some exclusives, and Walmart had some exclusives. So I got all those as well. So it's pretty cool. I'm excited for this. When I saw this on pop up, I was like, okay, that's awesome. As much as I'd want to buy them all, probably can't, but they'll be good to look at regardless.
If Mighty Mugs do come back, Like, let's say people go, you know what, these are cooler than Funko Pops. I kind of want to collect these as well, or instead of. That's going to make the original Mighty Mugs jump up in price and value. Before they made this announcement, if you went on eBay, you can find Mighty Mugs, and you could find them at a low price because they weren't producing them anymore, and they weren't really in demand because Funko Pops seemed to be the market. As soon as they stopped producing them way back when, yeah, they were more valuable, but since then people lost interest. Now with this story backup, the older ones have become collectible again. Whether or not they stay and remain that way is going to depend on how well these new line of Mighty Mugs do.
Yeah. And like I said, I've got a full set. I don't like selling my stuff, but if those prices spike to a comfortable area, I wouldn't mind letting them go. That's for sure.
I don't mind going on the tangent. Planet Hulk. Obviously, you got Thor Ragnarok right around the corner.
I'm sorry, I got to interrupt you. It's Planet Hulk is right around the corner. That's in November.
It is not Planet Hulk.
It's a Planet Hulk movie.
Thor is in there, and there's no Silver Surfer, and Hulk is a cameo at best. You should be enraged by what Ragnarok is, how they're bastardizing that story.
I don't care for Thor. It's Planet Hulk. It's going to be 75% movie of Hulk with Thor story thrown in and destruction of Asgard. That's all it's going to be.
You think that's what it's going to be? You don't think it's going to be a Thor movie?
It's a Hulk movie. We're going to get Hulk introduced right in the very beginning of the movie. It's going to show Thor's going to get exiled, and there's going to be some bad things. We don't know what, obviously. And then he's going to be exiled and sent straight to Sakaar, and then introduce Hulk, and there we go. And that's going to be in the first... I say it's within the 15-20 minutes window in the beginning of the movie. That's where we get Hulk. And then the rest of the movie, it's going to be focusing on Hulk.
I hope
there's
so.
Also going to be a big battle on Sakaar because we see it in the trailer. We see Hulk's Warbound. I am super pumped because I saw his Warbound. I think his name's Crag or whatever. It's the big rock guy. Mm-hmm. You see him charging forward for like a split second. So his Warbound is in the movie. So we're going to get the Planet Hulk story in there. It's just the fact of how long is he there? Are they going to even show a love interest? Because they've already started the Romanoff thing. So who knows what they do with that? I'm super pumped about the Hulk movie come out in November.
I think if they do romance, it'll be... I really do think they're just substituting Hulk's role as Thor and then Silver Surfer's role as the Hulk. So when, Thor ends up beating the shit out of many, just like in the original story, the guy he's going to have to fight, the undefeated, is going to be Hulk as opposed to the Silver Surfer. And then, unlike the comic where Silver Surfer leaves, in this case, Hulk is going to stick around and there'll be a battle scene. I do think the love interest will be, I forgot the character's name. She's got the gray skin. She's already cast in this, right?
I believe she is cast. So it'll be interesting to see what they do that because they tried to do it with the Romanoff thing, which was really weird, by the way.
Credit to Joey Whedon on that one.
Yeah,
another gem from Joey.
That's your boy.
My favorite. My absolute favorite.
So, I mean, they could go many different ways. I mean, they've got an avenue here to open up Scar if they wanted to in the future. I don't know if they will, but there's an opportunity. I don't think Hulk's going to stay on Sakaar. I think Hulk, this is where the story's going to change from the book. Hulk and obviously it's role reversal because it's Thor coming instead of Hulk. They're both going to leave together because obviously they're already teammates. He's going to break him out of his obedience, which what is his name? Malcolm from Ian Malcolm. Ian Malcolm is in charge of Jeff Goldblum. Obviously. Yeah, that guy. It's his Jurassic Park role, right?
That's the only reason I'm seeing this on the opening weekend. This for Jeff Goldblum.
That's awesome.
He doesn't even have a hashtag. Like no little hashtag head for Jeff Goldblum. I'm like, what the hell is this shit?
He's got to get one. He's owed one. But I mean, I strongly feel that this is their way to put Hulk dominantly in a movie in a Thor franchise that hasn't done so well. Mm-hmm. I mean, Chris Hemsworth is holding it on his own because he's just a good actor and obviously he's eye candy for the women. But
sure.
He's a good actor. He's not a bad actor, and he's got some casual comedy in there to make him look like a klutz, which is awesome. But you pair him with Hulk, I mean, that's insta fun. I mean, we got Hulk talking. It's amazing. So this is going to go somewhere. I think this is going to be a very good point for Marvel to establish Hulk because they don't want to make another Hulk movie. They failed twice already. Right. Obviously, we're in a new universe, but I think they're very reluctant to do so because of how dangerous it's been. So they're trying to weave his story into other movies, and I feel Thor is the right place to do that just because of a lot of people don't care for Thor. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out. Early reviews are calling it goofy, fun, and funny action. So take that however you will. I'm not quite as optimistic, but I'm paying money for Jeff Goldblum. So hopefully he has enough scenes in there that make the ride worthwhile. Next news story, New York Comic Con. There's a ton of it. We mentioned it earlier. At New York Comic Con, Spawn creator Todd McFarlane revealed that the live action reboot is set to begin filming next year in February.
I'm surprised that this is so soon. Like, I thought this was something that was going to hold off for a while.
Apparently the budget is so tiny on this. Well, we have a quote here from McFarlane.
So McFarlane, he says he's spending his own money, so who cares if it doesn't work out? It's a $10 million budget movie, and a studio would just get a 22-year-old punk director. I just want to be the old punk directing it.
And end quote. $10 million is nothing in today's movie world. I think with $10 million, they can easily make it up just based on the fact that it's got Spawn in the title. If this movie tanks, it'll still make its $10 million.
Yeah, just the franchise alone has a huge following. Spawn's been around for a while. I mean, even the original movie was pretty good. It wasn't amazing, but for the time when it was made, it was pretty cool. You had Michael J. White was Spawn, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you've got that guy coming in as a mixed martial artist. I mean, professional black belt and all sorts of different. I think it's jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai and some other categories. So he did all of his own stunts. He did all of his fighting.
And you got a real costume.
Yeah, the costume was cool. They only CGI'd his cape, right? That was the only thing.
Yeah, because they tried to make it as much like the comic as possible. And in the comic, he has this amazingly ginormous stylized cape. And they used the tech that they had in the, late 90s, and tried to make it work on film. And when I was a kid and I was watching it, I'm like, this is exactly what I see in the comics. It is on the screen.
Yeah, I feel they pulled it off. For a movie in the 90s, who's to complain, you know? Best of luck to him with his $10 million budget, especially if he's got full control. It's his property. He can do what he wants. Mm-hmm. All we can do is expect the best. Also to note here, there's no release date that has been given.
If I had to guess, maybe 2019, maybe 2020. We'll see how production goes. McFarlane's not a filmmaker, so this could be a rocky ride for everyone, but we'll find out soon enough.
I have a feeling you'll keep it close to the chest in order to keep his budget low.
Absolutely. Next news story, Warner Brothers Archive have confirmed that I didn't think this was going to happen, and I kept, hoping for it. And people were saying it wasn't going to happen because of the cells. They were too degraded. No one had originals. Archive confirmed that Batman, the animated series, the greatest Batman anything in existence that will ever be. I don't care that I'm not going to live till forever to see every Batman anything ever. I've seen the best. It is coming to Blu-ray as a set in 2018, less than a year away.
And this is so good. This is so good for everybody that WB has to discontinue the DVD box season. That's how good this is. It just pushes everything else out of the way.
I thought there was going to be backlash about that, about no longer, but no one cared. And I think it's because they've been available for so many years on DVD and on digital platforms that everyone that wanted to have the series has it at this point. I have the collector's set. I have replacement discs, because I've watched the other discs so often, and the collector's set didn't have special discs for them. They were just the seasons, and then they boxed them up in this really nice set. And so all of that, I had it. All the Batman fans have it. And now we've been asking for the Blu-ray release to see a clean version. And on Twitter and at New York Comic Con, they credited sales from Batman Mask of the Phantasm, which recently came out on Blu-ray, as the whole catalyst as to why Batman the Animated Series is making its way on Blu-ray. And that's something that I always stress. You hear it as well every week, that if you want to see something be created or made or continue, you have to support it. You can't just whine about it on Twitter or on Facebook. You have to put your money there. You have to support these things. Sales are what's going to make something happen, way more than, a million tweets.
They've also said that there's no word yet on if they'll have 4K support. I think that's interesting, seeing that it's already on Blu-ray. So if they're going to do Blu-ray, I would think they would aim for high definition 4K or something like that, or how they're going to release it, which will also be interesting because they could do seasons or the full series. I personally feel if they do a season release over time, they can milk it and make more money. Mm-hmm. They can do the whole Kingdom Hearts philosophy where you just leak portions out and then put a better portion out later.
That's right.
To have goodies and make more money. But we're talking WB, and I think Their track record speaks to we're just going to give you a collector set up front. I could be wrong, but I mean that all goes on how how much it costs them to produce all this and put it into that disc format and produce it massively is what's gonna come down to.
Very true. And if they are going to do, one of the biggest complaints with Mask of the Phantasm was that people wanted new special features. And only special features were they included the original trailer from back when it was coming out in theaters. And that was it. You got your subtitles, you got your widescreen or 4:3, which was really nice because you get to see it in its original platform, which it was made for 4:3. And then 75% of the way through, Warner Brothers was like, hey, we want Mask of the Phantasm to show up in theaters. So, Bruce, can you just format this for widescreen? Thanks. And he's like, what the fuck, guys? So he had to just try to rework the cropping on each scene from the very beginning so that it fits on widescreen. And even then, that's why he's disappointed with it, because he's like, if they told me this from the beginning, we could have used all that space to make something even more cinematic than what they ended up with. I still love the movie. But in this case, with that Blu-ray release, they wanted special features. I was just happy we got it, and Blu-ray. Yeah. And in this case, too, with the animated series, however they release it, whether it's all in one, whether it's in seasons, new special features, I am thrilled that I'm getting Batman the Animated Series on Blu-ray at all. The very first tweet that I saw when Warner Brothers Archive came out is, you better have a collector's edition. It's like, fuck you, man. Just be grateful that we're getting this at all. I mean, how many years have we been asking for this?
Yeah, they just release it. It'll sell. It's got its own following. And then on top of that, if they want to sweeten the deal, which they will, they'll add in featurettes with interviews with the original cast. And then there's your cherries on top. There's your syrup on top of your pancakes, because that's going to sell extra units, and they know that. Look what they did with The Killing Joke. Actually, we all went and saw that. Mm-hmm. And how amazing was it to sit and watch that in a theater, for one, but two, have that before the movie started. We got to see that introduction and interview with Mark Hamill himself. I mean, that was great. It was almost chilling to hear him talk about him seeping into the role as the Joker and how important it is and how he felt that he needed to connect with the audience. I mean, that's really cool. So if they take that and do that with him and I apologize, I'm forgetting the Harley Quinn actor,
Arlene Sorkin.
Yeah, Harley Sorkin, and then also Kevin Conroy. If you get them talking about things or show some featurettes with them at the mics doing their roles, and you get to see their the way they act. I mean, that's pretty cool to watch. I think adding that to this as a special feature, or maybe even a retailer exclusive, like Target exclusive, or pre-order your copy now from the WB store, and you get this in addition, this extra disc or this extra featurette with all these extra cameos and talkabouts and stuff like that. I think that'd be awesome. It'd push sales and more incentive to watch it.
Hopefully they do. If anything deserves it more, it's Batman the Animated Series, the crown jewel of Batman anything. What does this original cartoon mean to you, Bobby? I mean, everyone knows what we've talked about it endlessly, Kelly and I, but what's it mean to you?
Here's another side of the coin you're going to hear. I actually did not get to watch too much of the BTAS. I like it from what I've seen, but I've never been able to watch the whole thing. It wasn't ingrained in my childhood because I missed out on it. By the time it was on, I was involved in all sorts of other things, whether it be high school sports and whatnot, and working. So it's one of those things where it's when I see it, I like it because it's one of the first Batman things I've seen. So although I didn't get to watch it as much as you guys did, so you have more of a attachment to it, I think it's awesome. I think it's the bottom and baseline for Batman. So when I watch anything Batman related, I do think of Batman the Animated Series, and of course, there's no other Batman besides Kevin Conroy. That's Batman. That's the only Batman. That's the only Batman there ever will be.
Exactly.
Even if you watch, I'm watching Batfleck right now. Batfleck, yeah, he's doing good, but that's not Kevin Conroy's voice. So I do have those thoughts. Not attachment like you guys have. You and Kelly have a very good passion for it, obviously, because you grew up on it and watched everything. I like it. If and when this comes out, this is something I will definitely look at. I don't buy too much of the DC animated, but this one I would definitely consider. I would have to go after this one.
Yeah, man. Let me know when you do and what you think of it, because it's some of the best cartoons you will ever watch. This is a cartoon that came out on primetime television. It wasn't initially aimed for kids. It wasn't until season 4, even as early as season 2, when Fox came down and said, you got to add more Robin to this because we got to sell toys. but they still kept the stories at that awesome high level of we're not going to treat our audiences like they're simple or dumb, or we're going to give them a plot. Some of these were adapting from Denny O'Neil's comic books, or something from Detective Comics, and which is going to animate it and do our best, and it works so well. So I'm very curious to see what you think of it if you do a full run of the series.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll let you know. Like I said, from what I've seen, the little bits and pieces I've watched and been able to watch, and what I can remember, I always remember it being very good. I could attach myself to it. It wasn't boring. It obviously had a good story. And then the voice acting alone would keep you gripped just because of how they sound.
And even more coming, more content for your television, Bobby, if animated series won't be enough next year. According to Bleeding Cool, American writers are being sought out for a V for Vendetta television series.
Never seen V for Vendetta. It's one of the movies I skipped out on. But that's interesting that they're going to bring that back somehow. I have a feeling that it'll be a Fox property. If it's because according to what they're proclaiming, that this won't be a Netflix production, so it will be on TV, and no release date has been given. So if I remember correctly, there was something similar to this on Fox back in the day, but I just can't remember what it was.
Some people are speculating that it'll be HBO because that's where we're going to get Watchmen, and obviously those two are related in a way with the way they were produced. So some people think it might be HBO. Either way, I think V for Vendetta is that type of story, just like Watchmen, and I do like the Watchmen film. I think for adapting that into, that's the best way you could have done it. There's so much content, and to fill it all in 2.5 hours or 3, I think Snyder killed it. But in this case, both V for Vendetta and Watchmen are books that will benefit from a slow burn.
Oh, absolutely. And if they go to HBO, that's where they can maximize their viewing audience because, they have freedom. They can do what they want, where they don't have to worry about restrictions on language and what they're going to show. HBO, they can go run wild with it.
So far, there has not been a release date yet for V for Vendetta.
More news coming. Comicbook.com is reporting that Matt Ryan, look at this guy, will indeed be reprising his role as Constantine in DC's Legends of Tomorrow for season 3.
I'm back on Legends of Tomorrow, Bobby. Kelly and I are back on that show. This is all it took. You put him in any fucking TV show, I am watching.
Now, hold on now. I will tell you, I watched Legends of Tomorrow. I know you tailed off after season 1. I will tell you, they're still on the Villain of the Week thing. So I think what's going to happen with this is we're going to see Matt Ryan for one whole episode, just like we saw him in Arrow. He was there for one whole episode. Now, to be fair, they did reference Constantine a lot more after that. He was referenced like 2 episodes before it about a guy that had spiritual knowledge and can do things. But then after the episode, they referenced, because now they revealed who he was and he helped, they referenced John Constantine several times. Like there was a lot of back and forth, whether it be flashbacks or current things where John Constantine was referenced, because anytime they were on the island, they would reference Constantine because that's where he did that ritual to help resurrect White Canary. So he did get referenced a lot, and I thought a couple times we were actually going to see him again, but no, it was just that one episode. But back to DC Legends Tomorrow. I have a feeling this will be for one episode. They're going to tie him in somehow with some story-driven content, or it'll be one of their time visits through time, and it'll visit him probably doing some type of exorcism somewhere. They might even go to an episode that happened already that was on originally. What was it, CBS? Right. They'll go to one of those actual episodes and reference one of those episodes. I have a feeling that's what will happen.
Either way, it's more Constantine. The dream is staying alive that we'll get more Constantine content at all. So Matt from Super Side Up, the Super Side Up podcast, he did confirm with us. He pointed out that he is at least going to be in 2 episodes. So if it goes the way that you're saying, it might be a 2-parter. If he shows up, if he becomes a part of the crew, even better, because that was initially how they pitched the show, is that every season they were going to rework the team a little bit to have different members from the DC universe, villains or heroes, as a part of the crew just to keep it all fresh, which I thought was an amazing idea. I don't think they've fully capitalized on it. From what I understand, it's mainly the same crew, and then they add some more here or there, or they'll have guests like, what's his name? The Jonah Hex. He's shown up a few times.
Yeah, but that's only when they go to his time period. Like that's the premise of the show, is they bounce between time periods to try to defeat. Oh my God, I'm forgetting the villain. Savage. Yeah, it's a constant, ongoing battle with Savage because of the power that he has. He's immortal. So they're trying to bounce through time and actually stop him. So I think they went to the West twice. So we saw Jonah Hex 2 times because of that. You just mentioned something very important. You said possibly add him to the crew.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, about a couple of hours ago, I just got a thing from comicbook.com as well, and this kind of makes sense for what you just said. They have announced that Victor Garber is leaving the show. He was oh no, I guess that's messed up then. He is the one half part of Firestorm.
Oh shit, that's weird.
He's the intellectual part. He's the scientist portion of Firestorm. So actually, that doesn't make sense. If he was somebody else, then obviously Matt Ryan could be a replacement. The fact that they're leaving, maybe they're gonna kill. Okay, Matt Ryan's gonna get involved and mess up Firestorm and kill that portion of the character, and then Matt Ryan just takes over and Firestorm's gone. There you go. Done. Good.
Constant Storm.
Hellblazer Storm.
That's fine, and then he can switch between Constantine or Firestorm. And then what I would do is just be like, all right, guys, we're just going to have him switch to Constantine, and he'll just stay there. And then if Firestorm can stay in his mind, then maybe we can just visit every 10th episode. But for all intents and purposes, it's going to be Constantine the whole time. Like, whatever it works. That's weird, though. Mr. Titanic is leaving the show. I wonder how they're going to form that into the plot.
Yeah, I just when I said that, I realized it's half of Firestorm. So he's an important character, but he's also been very underplayed. So I guess it'll be easy to get rid of him. It'll be weird. It'll be interesting to see what they do with that character, because they can't just slide another actor into that. He's been too important for that role.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we're about to get the Constantine animated series as well, so it's continued. Even though the show ended, we saw his appearance, as you mentioned, in Arrow. He's now going to show up in Legends of Tomorrow. We're getting an animated show. So WB is not giving up on it, and I think the fans as well. I bought the Blu-ray, and there was a big push to buy the Blu-ray so we can get season 2. If anything, it's gotten us more appearances, so I'm happy that there's more of that content coming.
Yeah, and he is voicing the character in the animated series. It's going to go straight to CW Seed.
Next news item here is shifting on over to the comic book side a little bit. As part of its Justice League Day celebration, DC Comics has announced that a free copy of New 52's Justice League #1 will be offered along with Justice League temporary tattoos, obviously to try to push the upcoming movie next month.
It's pretty cool. This issue will feature an all-new cover featuring the cast of the film, so we get an updated cover. In the press release, it says, quote, "Join the League and celebrate the world's greatest superheroes as fans around the world celebrate Justice League Day on November 18, 2017, the day after the release of their very first epic feature film, Justice League. Join in the fun by finding local events, exclusive deals, and discounts, and entering our Justice League Day sweepstakes." End quote.
Anytime they do any kind of mini free comic book day event, they did it for Wonder Woman Day, they recently did it for Batman Day, and they coupled it up with Harley Quinn. I'm always happy with. As longtime listeners know, I work at a local comic book shop, and customers, even if they're not coming in specifically for that event, they like the freebies. And it's not shit content either. You're getting issue #1 from New 52's Justice League, which was very well received, and what looks to be what they're loosely adapting this upcoming movie from. So when they see the movie, they're getting a story in their hands that is somewhat reflective of what they just saw on the big screen, which is always a huge thing for viewers because they fall in love with a movie. Biggest example was Guardians of the Galaxy. They fell in love with the cast. They didn't know the characters. They loved the movie. They want to know more. They want to know where the story's going. They want to know more about Rocket Raccoon. So they'll come into their local comic shop and say, hey, I just saw Guardians of the Galaxy. Do they have a comic out right now? Or what comics came from that story? So it only builds and enhances the audience's experience. Plus, it brings more customers into comic shops. And families love it because you give them a free comic book. You give them their temporary tattoos. Kids are happy. Parents are happy. Positive experience. They come back to the shop a week, 2 days, a month, 3 months from now.
Yeah, I got to give DC credit. DC is really good with giving freebies away, a lot of free things to promote certain days or certain events, like obviously their movies. I think this is cool because I can tell you one thing Marvel doesn't do. They do not create days for events around their movies.
Right.
I think they're so egotistic forward that they're Marvel / Disney / we have all the money in the world / we have a universe that's established and you're going to spill your money regardless, that they don't have to do that. Or maybe that's just something they don't care for. DC has gone out of their way to do the Batman Day every year, which I think is cool. Yeah, you don't get expensive things, but I mean, that's cool. Bring your kids in. They get a little Batman thing that they get to put on their head. I mean, that's cool. Kids like that stuff. And then what was it? Last year, the year before, they had a book, I think, that was included in Batman Day. There was a special issue or something. This year they paired it with Harley Quinn. It's 25 years, I believe.
25 years of Harleen Quinzel.
Yeah, I mean that's cool. I mean, why not? Harley Quinn is so important to the DC universe, underutilized. Obviously, we see that with the Suicide Squad movie.
Suicide.
And I mean, look what they're doing. It's pushing books. It's helping brick and mortar. It's helping the comic book stores. So I think it's a good thing that the Justice League or DC's doing this for Justice League, because obviously they're going to debut this movie that's huge. And why not pair it with some things in comic book stores to get joint excitement there?
It's very interesting how the comparison between how Disney and Warner Brothers does their comic portions is it's like night and day. As you mentioned, Marvel will sometimes give out like free flyers. Sometimes there will be like an occasional promo poster, that kind of thing. But
poster, yeah.
Like you said, they don't make events out of their movies or books. What they do instead is they do those prelude comics that are like 3-parter. Watch the Black Panther prelude to see what happens before the movie. They're never good comics, and they never sell well. They never do. No one wants those. People yeah, go ahead.
That's the gimmick. Like, they're not giving you things. They're presenting books that are issue number 1 or 3-part series that is part of the movie universe in comic book form. So it's a gimmick. And then it's not free. You pay for it. Mm-hmm. So people buy it, I guess. I've never bought one because I don't care for it. But
no one buys them. Next to no one.
I believe it. Like, why would you push and force feed more things that cost money? Let's be honest, Marvel charges too much for their books anyways. Mm-hmm. So why would I look at those books and I know that it's just got the movie print cover on it. It's some story that's tied to the movie. It's not even a separate story. It's just about what's going on in the movie, like a side tangent. I don't care. I'm not going to spend money on that. If it was free, sure, I'll take it. I'm not going to buy it.
Hopefully there's some kind of shakeup. I'm sure that has something to do with them being a Disney property now, but I don't know. We'll see what happens moving forward for the next year. It'll be really interesting to see if there's a shift in comics in the next year or so.
The final arc of the All-Star Batman has been split off into its own miniseries. It's titled Batman Last Night. This is very interesting.
The split and story delay is due to Dark Knight's Metal and Batman White Knight already being on store shelves. They don't want to hit the market with too much Batman during this publishing period, so they instead delayed it, cut it, and made it its own mini.
Wait a minute, how do you have too much Batman? There's no such thing as too much Batman.
Oh, I agree. People accuse DC all the time of like, great, another Batman book. And I'm like, yeah, great, another Batman book.
Oh, yeah, give us the Batman books. Well, Scott Snyder spoke about the mini at NYCC. For all of you listening, it's New York Comic Con. Quote, Batman suddenly wakes up, and he's young. But he wakes up in this post-apocalyptic wasteland, crawling out of the sand in this Gotham City that's been ruined. He's got the Joker's head chained to his belt. That's awesome. But it's alive and like, you gotta move, kid. It's got old Wonder Woman, baby Superman. It's like my lone wolf and cub Batman story, end quote.
I also read some more on Snyder, who said that he wanted this to be his final Batman story for a while. He's been doing a shit ton of Batman, and All-Star Batman has kind of been his chance to do something out of the norm with the character, but it all still sort of connects, and then each artist that they switch it up to ends up reflecting the grid of the story. This time the art will be by Sean Gordon Murphy, who is doing Batman White Knight, which we're going to review later. And he had previously collaborated with Snyder on American Vampire.
What else did he say here? Another quote from him. We did a short story together in Batman number 27. Murphy told Newsarama in 2016. It was a futuristic story about where Scott's version of Batman was headed. These 6 issues will expand that idea.
And then, quote, do you remember what happened in Batman 27?
Are we talking about the current line of Batman?
The New 52 Batman.
New 52. I'm thinking that's right around the death of the family, correct?
It was right before. Hold on, Death of the Family. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it was right around Death of the Family, but before Endgame.
But before Endgame. Okay, I can't remember.
So this is the one in which you read Endgame, right?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember how he had that device, and they teased it in Endgame, and then they really went forward with Mr. Bloom, where he could reset his mind to be that of Batman again?
Oh, yes, that. Okay, got it.
So this issue of Batman kind of started all of that, or introduced it. So Scott came up with an idea of how do you keep having Batman in the future? Like, yeah, you have Batfake with Terry McGinnis. You can have a line of Batman. You can have Damian Wayne take over. There's been several ideas and different stories on how Batman continues in the future. They're never going to fully go into that because they're always going to stay on Bruce Wayne. That's the story that sells. That's who people want to see. But he came up with something neat in which you upload Batman's mind, his experiences, his memories into this machine. And then he clones himself and jumpstarts that clone's brain with all of the memories, loads it all up at the prime age of when he started to be Batman. And then right when he gets old or when he dies, when his heartbeat stops, it automates this computer to start the next Batman with his experiences. And that's what this story, if they're saying it's a post-apocalyptic futuristic story, it's still going to be Bruce Wayne. It's going to be one of those clone Bruce Waynes, but for all intents and purposes, it's still Batman.
Yeah, I mean, because Batman has a contingency plan for everything. I'm pretty sure this is the machine that Alfred was like so protective over Bruce using it because he thought he was going to kill himself when he was trying to jumpstart him. Okay, yeah, that's it. Yeah, that was pretty intense. Like Alfred, I thought Alfred was going to blow a blood vessel. Like he was at the verge of like trying to protect him so much, and Bruce was so mean to him, like, get away, go away, don't ever come back here again, like, I gotta do this must be done, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough for Alfred. It's not, Snyder sees, and he's written Alfred to be like Batman's father, and he calls him son in his mind during the monologue several times. So this is how he views Alfred, and whenever you see him in pain or in trouble, it's already Alfred, so you already don't want him hurt. He's precious. You know, as a reader, when the Joker chopped off Alfred's hand in Death of the Family, I was like, fuck you, fucking Joker. This is the one time I'm legitimately mad at Joker's atrocities. Not the millions of people he's killed, but hurting Alfred and then what we thought was blinding him when he was putting the acid in his eyes. I'm like, holy shit. I don't care if Batman kills Joker at this point. Fuck this guy. You don't touch Alfred.
Yeah, well, it's almost like they introduced Star Wars into Batman. I mean, they cut off his hand. I mean, where are we going with this? No release date has been given for Batman the Last Night as of yet.
Yeah, I'm debating. I'm going to get it. It's Snyder, and I love Sean Murphy. I was about ready for All-Star Batman to end because it did have that higher price point, but once they said, okay, it's going to be 14 issues, I'm like, all right, I might as well finish the run. You know, it's a little over 2 years of issues, and then in this case, Sean Murphy's great, and we don't have a release date for this, so I've got time. You know, when Batman content is quote-unquote lighter, then this will come around, and we'll get to read that.
I was reading the Batman and Robin, and I really enjoyed the first arc. It was super gritty, and I thought that was really good. Especially the artwork of Romita, and then it ended the first arc and it went to the Mr. Freeze aspect, and the artwork was all over the place. I didn't like it, and the story was too tangent for me for some reason. It's skewed away. I know they were setting up a bigger thing, and then the price point got to me, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. It's too expensive. So I backed off of it after this second issue in the Freeze arc, which was with Poison Ivy when they were in the desert. Yeah, that's where I stopped.
Kelli and I talked about it as we continued with All-Star Batman. If this is definitely not counting Metal, because Metal is amazing, All-Star Batman was Snyder's weakest Batman stuff ever, I think. It's not as good as, and you know, the other stuff is amazing, so it's not difficult to do something that isn't as prime as what he did before with the New 52, but this was definitely like, I'm like, okay, I've got Tom King over here really killing it. He's writing a better Batman story than Scott right now. And then I've got, you know, James Tynion IV on Detective Comics killing it even more than Batman. So I've got my Batman stories well, but I never thought I'd see, you know, Snyder be the weakest of the writers, and that was with All-Star Batman. Thankfully, Dark Knight's Metal has been great, and it's Snyder again, and I think Capullo being on it definitely helps, along with FCO Placencia. But yeah, it was All-Star Batman was not the strongest.
Yeah, and I said Batman and Robin. I meant All-Star Batman. I was referring to the original series a while back. But yeah, same thing. All-Star Batman is what I was referring to. Like I said, I thought it was super gritty, and it was cool. You see a different side of Batman. Like those first 2 issues were like super bloody. I mean, he was going to town, beating people up. I mean, he had those people after him. Like, what were they? He had a mark on him, pretty much. And that's what's going on through the whole thing is he has a mark on him, and Hitman villains are coming after him, and that's set up some really good fights.
Yeah, that was the Two-Face arc, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, that was very good. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Romita, but that was a beautiful book.
And that's what he's good at. Like if you look at the Kick-Ass stories, the Kick-Ass, it was all like fighting and blood and like beating each other up, and that's where he excelled in that series.
Mhm.
Did really good at it.
Continuing on the comic book side, didn't see this. This is just like Mighty Mugs. I'm like, holy shit, when? Amanda Conner and Jimmy Palmiotti are stepping away from the ongoing Harley Quinn comic with December's issue number 34.
I'm done. This is no more. No more comics. We're done. If they're not doing that book, then why should we read books? I mean, except for Batman. Like, why should we read DC?
It's definitely a very fun title. And one thing I tweeted to them, because they obviously were, Jimmy was tweeting about the story, and it's part of the news here. Frank Thierry, who did Harley Quinn and her Gang of Harleys, is going to be taking over on the writing. The art will be by Inaki Miranda, who did Coffin Hill, with Amanda Conner still doing the covers. But I tweeted to Jimmy and I said, so Paul Dini, why isn't Paul Dini taking over the ongoing? Is he sick? Is he not able to do this?
No, he's back there counting all his money. Counting those bills. We have a quote from them. Quote, "We just felt like maybe it's a good time to take a break, take a step back, go on a honeymoon, maybe spend some of the money we made on each other, and get to know each other." Quote, Palmiotti told the Washington Post, I'm having trouble talking today, quote, "We love this character, but we feel like a lot of times you work on books and the sales drop and the character isn't popular anymore. With Harley Quinn, we figured, well, let's take a nice break while the character is essentially as hot as ever." End quote. So I think that what that means is the character's on a high. It's been on a high. It will always be on a high. So they feel comfortable backing away, let it ride its own wave that they created, obviously, or was created before them, and watch it succeed while they can kind of take a break. I specifically remember talking to Jimmy and Amanda at MegaCon this year, and every time I see them, I kind of have the same conversations with them because they travel a lot. Like this past year, they went to Europe, they went to Spain, they were in Greece. They were doing all sorts of shows overseas and throughout the U.S. They made that big U.S. tour going through one show to the next, and not home that much. So a lot of their drawing and writing was done on the road. And Jimmy would tweet that stuff. He would show pictures of them hanging out at a park, taking as best time as they could a break in between this. And then obviously that sprouted their rule with the whole signing of books, where they put a book limit out, which I think was an awesome idea.
Yes.
These two are awesome. They're industry leaders. They're behind a very important character. So why not take a break? Your book is succeeding. Your character's doing well. Hand it to somebody that you trust. They're real good friends with Frank Thierry. They're always hanging out together. So why not give it to them? Give it to that team. Sit back, let it grow. Take a break. Enjoy. They just got married recently. Was it 2 years ago? Maybe.
Oh no shit. That's cool.
Yeah. So let them hang out and enjoy their property while somebody else takes over, and then come back later. You're a guest artist and guest writer, and then all of a sudden all this money pops out again. Why not?
Take a break. Let it all. No matter what creative thing you do, you take a break, you come back at it stronger than ever. So whenever they do end up returning, awesome. They've more than earned their break. So good on them. And we'll see what kind of story Frank Thierry does. He just did a guest issue right before the Mayor Harley Quinn stuff. So it wasn't bad. Frank Thierry, as you mentioned, they're great friends. And I would have much preferred a Paul Dini book, but I'm sure Paul's more busier and more expensive than almost any of the creative teams on DC currently under contract. So we'll find out, though. Paul's working on Harley and Ivy meet Betty and Veronica. So this isn't the end for Harley Quinn adventures.
Yeah, and Frank Thierry, I think he'll do well. He wrote some of Punisher books a while back, a few years ago. I remember reading those, and they were pretty solid. So he can bring some grit to a character if needed as well. He's done that. Very
good. More New York Comic Con news. At Diamond's Retailer Breakfast, this is what you were saying. Oh, no, we're not to that part yet.
Yeah.
The upcoming DC Comics were shown dropping the DC Rebirth banner. So this is much quicker than when they dropped the New 52 banner. And they're replacing it with DC Universe. And it is done in a classic corner box style next to the logo of each title. So this is continuing that theme of them, the rebirth. They brought back like a more classic DC logo, just like the one they used, in the 70s. And then now they're having those corner boxes return, which is again a familiar look to longtime readers of comics.
Yeah, and concern from retailers quickly came up as the story title part 1 doesn't look to appear in these upcoming printings, the jumping on point markers pretty much. I think I'm going to agree with what that statement is because you can talk to this perfectly, obviously. Buying that book or picking it up and seeing what's there on the title, right on the top, having the jumping on point or part one or new story banner on the front of the book helps because you know that, okay, well, I'm one book behind. I have it at home. I haven't read it yet. Oh, here's a new one. And then this is all just jumping on. So if you need to, from your standpoint, help sell it to somebody, you would go to the one that is not a part two. You would go to a part one. So maybe that leaves you one issue back or one issue forward, but it's identifiable. But I also see why DC would remove it because they want to not make it look as brand new anymore. They want to get a settled look, and that's why they want to go to that classic style probably.
Have you gotten a look at the corner box style DC Universe look to them?
No, not the new one, no.
It looks really fucking sharp. It does look nice, but yeah, I also had that same concern of, I do like, Mayor Harley Part 1 on there, and as you mentioned, I can talk to customers and say, if you've never read Harley Quinn, you don't have to read issue 32 to 1. You can just start with issue 33 and read that issue forward. We do reviews on the show all the time where it's a new jumping on point, and I'm like, hey, if you've always wanted to read Green Lantern, jump on with Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps number 18 and read from here. And then later on, if you want to catch up, you can get the trades, but it's not essential to keeping up with the story because you're always jumping onto something. Even if it's a number one issue, there's always going to be knowledge and material that will be referenced from before that new number one existed. So you're never right at the beginning of something. So might as well jump on when you can. And, when I was a kid, there were no clear jumping on points like there are now. Like, yeah, you had all new story starts here. It all begins here, but it's not as common as it was back then. I would just pick up, I like Spawn, I like Sonic. Let me just buy that issue and read whenever I can. So we'll find out what they end up doing. DC has heard of this criticism, and hopefully they'll include it in this new marking for the books.
Yeah, maybe just see what happens. I don't think it's going to affect anything regardless. I mean, it's just like anything you put in front of somebody, they want to complain about it, right?
Yeah, it's exactly right. This is the last news story for this week, and also the most controversial one. At a closed-doors retailer meeting with Marvel and New York Comic Con, a vocal set of retailers expressed their frustration at the variance and diversity from Marvel these past couple of years.
Yeah, this began an outcry against the varied characters from several retailers as they argued for and against one another.
Nick Lowe, who is the Marvel executive editor, he expressed that diversity has been a part of the Marvel vein, citing Frog Thor, which is, by the way, the greatest Thor version is Frog Thor. I think he should be in the movies and in the comics. And then Rhodes taken over as Iron Man before he became War Machine.
Retailers continued by saying that viewers of the films head to their shop and find books that don't reflect the characters in the movies. Examples would be like female Thor, black Captain America, etc.
That's an argument right there. That's a valid argument because when people, what was the biggest thing? I'm trying to think more recently, like Guardians of the Galaxy, when that movie came out, there was like the Thing was a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy or Kitty Pryde, and it's not the team that they saw up on the big screen. But then on the flip side, Marvel has been known to change the characters. Like, for example, Star-Lord, he is now the movie Star-Lord and not the Star-Lord that we got with, what was it? It's not Infinity. It was...
Annihilation?
Yes, with Annihilation, which is what these films drew inspiration from, and what we hopefully
totally
eventually get to. Yeah, he's way different than... So it's a double-edged sword, because if you try to match him to the movies, because, they're trying to sell the books, like, hey, here's the movie thing, then the longtime readers are like, hey, hold on a minute. Just like me with Harley Quinn, when they changed up her look, it's like, no, give me the Jester outfit, to a lesser extent, of course. And then, but on the other side, if they make something different, which people are always asking for, right? Like, oh, it's always the same mold. Give me something new. What the hell is this? Female Thor? No, I want my old thing again. So it's really bizarre. But right now, the argument I do side with these particular retailers. I don't side with them on, them throwing out words like homo or black or whatever. But that the concern is that these characters aren't familiar to what people grew up with or to what they're seeing in the movies.
Yeah, and the problem with that is, let's say you do your job in the comic book shop to get them the book that they need, the proper material, and they're super happy, they're excited, they go home and they read the book, and then you don't see them again. and then you're in the back of your mind, you wonder with the amount of people that you got new readers into, or new books in their hands, what goes through your mind? It's like, okay, well, are they realizing that these characters aren't the same? Or maybe you do get some feedback where guests will come back and say, hey, I realized that this Thor is not the same Thor that's in the movie that we watched last weekend, or that we watched on Blu-ray a couple weeks ago. And then you have the difficult conversation of trying to explain that when it's not your problem to begin with. You're just at the comic book store. And then all of a sudden they're confused. They don't care. It's not worth their $3 for the book, or $4 for the book, whatever it is. So then it's just a big mess. I agree with that, just like you do. I think that's a problem. But that also shows that the Marvel Studios universe, Marvel Movies universe, has zero communication with the comic book division.
Correct.
Like those two do not work together at all. The only thing they do work together on is, hey, let's make this 3-shot book for Thor because the movie's coming out. I'm sorry, for Planet Hulk because the Planet Hulk movie's coming out in November. So they'll make a little movie book to tie in to obviously milk some more money a month leading up to the film, with movie covers on the front to make them look more attractive. And obviously they'll put Chris Hemsworth on there to grab those readers, or they'll put Hulk on there to grab those readers.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes they do, like right now, Thor has the short hair like he will have in Thor Ragnarok. And that's one of those, like, okay, so they're trying to make it look more like the movie, but, sometimes it's not enough. And from what I understand and what they weren't clear with, not only with retailers, but also with customers, and this is the biggest issue, and I'm not speaking for my particular shop, but from what I've heard, is Marvel, when they were talking to shop owners and retailers across the nation, they were saying, Marvel Legacy, if we've heard your complaints and Marvel Legacy is going to fix it. Okay, well, what are you guys doing in it? Well, we can't say what's going to happen, but it's going to be big. It's like, that doesn't help us. That does not tell us anything. It doesn't give us confidence in ordering your books. How many times have they said, this is going to change, this is going to be fixing things, and then it turns out it's not. It's just like, oh, it's an event actually, haha, just kidding. So it's like, no, retailers, just like readers, are not, we're not stupid to it. We're not going to buy it. We're not going to, drink the Kool-Aid every time anymore. And if they don't inspire confidence in the buyers, in the readers and the retailers, then we're not going to support the material. And that's one criticism I did have of Marvel Legacy. While it does seem to be bringing back the characters that people wanted, they should have made that the forefront of this whole movement. That should have been very clear to everyone, because no one knew what Marvel Legacy was. You yourself,
I had no idea what it was.
You saw the book on the stands and you're like, so what is this? And that's not, that's on Marvel's part, because this should have been a huge thing, just like Rebirth was, where they should have put out commercials. They should have done interviews online, on YouTube, on their channel, wherever they can get it out and say, hey, we know you missed your characters. They're coming back. And any of you new readers that like female Thor, for example, she's still around. Whatever way you need to do it, do it. But instead they said, this is coming out and here's the covers. Buy it. It's different. Okay, well, what's going to happen? We can't tell you. Guys, don't do that shit.
Yeah, their presentation was piss poor. I tried to research it before even asking you, and the descriptions behind it was even more confusing. It looked like it was leading me to go read all this stuff backstory, and I'm like, what is this? What is this Legacy? And then you see these expert excerpts for original numbering. I'm like, okay, so you're going to do this all over again. How many times have we done this where we've gone back to original numbering, and then a year later you go back to issue number 1? All new, brand new, super new, brand new, issue number 1. Like, enough of it. Like, they just need to hit, in my opinion, hit the reset button completely. Just flush it all out, except for their Star Wars. Their Star Wars is fine because it's a money machine and they're doing well with it. But
hell yeah, they're killing it on Star Wars.
And good for them, because they acquired that license and they know what they're doing with it. And they're able to push out all these stories that people want. I mean, it's hard to get that. There's only a certain amount of canon that's available in book form. So when they were able to do the graphic novels, good for them. Great. And it's just printing money at this point. But the Marvel universe has gone through so many, and I can say this because I was a Marvel reader that has now left Marvel for the most part. I only read Amazing Spider-Man and Daredevil. That's it. Those are the only 2 books I read. I dropped everything because the writing teams are inconsistent. The artists are inconsistent. The story content doesn't match. The whole flip-flopping of we're going to restart button, issue number 1. I mean, that gets annoying. And not only that, their books are more. They raised their prices within the past few years. They've gone up to $4, and they'll do these random books that are $5 and $6. There was an amazing Spider-Man book that was $10.
And the Deadpool book.
Yeah, and the Deadpool book. And I called out, God, I'm forgetting his name.
Dan Slott?
Dan Slott. I called out Dan Slott on it. I tweeted him, and I was like, dude, what are you doing with this $10 book? Are you kidding me? Well, he actually responded to me. His response was, oh, well, you should check it out. There's actually some really good stories in there. This story by insert writer, I can't remember her name, is phenomenal. You definitely need to check that one out. He's like, we thought it was a really good idea to put all these stories together because it was too much to put on its own. Whatever. Standard response because you put the book out and you just have to put that wall up. But what are we getting from Marvel? They put the wall up because they don't want to explain anything. So, again, Marvel's got a problem. They got to fix it. I don't think it's going to get any better. I think this Legacy is another attempt. I think it's going to fail. It hasn't grabbed me. I don't care. I looked at the book. It looks cool, but they still haven't reset the button from Secret Wars. And to me, that's an issue.
It'll be really interesting to see where if they retain readers with this new line, because I will tell you, they love the 3D covers. I don't know if
they do look good. They do look good.
Yeah, it reprints the classic, because I was very curious as to how they were doing it. Again, they weren't clear with how the 3D covers were going to be. So when people asked me, I was like, they're remaking classic covers that you find familiar. And, for most people, they're like, okay, that's great. But if I knew that the classic cover was the original image and then the new cover was the one it turned into, that would have been an even bigger selling point, because I didn't know if it was just the new cover in lenticular format, like, oh, it's popping out. But it is the older cover reprinted, and it looks great, and they did an awesome job. Obviously, some look better than the others, but that's always a cover preference, right? Some of those older covers don't translate well in 2017. But people have loved these 3D covers. The Venom one is, I'm sure, already out of print. The Deadpool one that just came out, it's recreating the first appearance of Punisher, looks fucking phenomenal. Spirits of Vengeance doing the giant size X-Men, absolutely gorgeous. I love them. I'm not, reading the series, and readers know that, or listeners know that Kelly and I are DC people. But I love the covers. I think they look phenomenal, and of course I bought them. But I'm curious to see how many people are buying just the covers like I am, just a select few, and how many are actually going to be reading them and then picking up the series moving forward. If this will in fact be a longer time bump for Marvel and not just a 1 month spike.
Yeah, it could easily be just like their hip hop covers. I mean, it could be something like that where they're pushing their books with exclusive covers. I'll admit the Spider-Man one that you showed looks phenomenal because it's redoing the Brand New Day cover. And that was a cool cover. And that was actually a good restart that Spider-Man had. All the rest of them had been trash. That one was good. So I'll agree with that one. That argument, by the way, continued outside the hall panel as frustrated attendees continued against Marvel Senior VP David Gabriel. So what happened there, obviously they had no control over that, and it spilled out into the hall. I actually have some insight on this. I don't know if you're aware.
Nice.
Yes, I ran into a lucky situation yesterday. A comic book store right next to my place of business where I work. I popped in to ask him something about our plaza, and he was bragging to me that he went to NYCC. Well, since I knew he went, I went ahead and asked the Marvel question because I was wondering if he went to that panel, and he did.
Oh, this is the Reasons I Broke exclusive. You heard it here first. Breaking news.
Yes. So it wasn't just about the characters in the movies not matching the books. This was a attack on racism. It was all about racism. The retailers and the problem was they gave the mic to retailers. They didn't ask the question.
Don't do that.
They gave the mic to the retailer. So the retailer, in specific, I don't know where he's from or this person's from, but they were talking about how they don't reflect the characters in the movies to the books. And then when they specifically mentioned the female Thor and the black cap, they also talked about the X-Men being gay and the gay marriage proposal, which I think was in X-Men. What was it? It was like 2 years ago. There was they fully revealed the gay character at the last panel of the thing, and he was supposed to get married to somebody. So he brought all the homosexuality up. He brought up how, why is this being exploited and how are we supposed to deal with this? And he kept ranting on. The problem was Marvel did not. I guess they could easily cut off their mic. They did not cut his mic. They let him keep talking. Marvel at this point is defenseless because this guy's just ranting and ranting with the microphone in his hand. They wouldn't take it away from him or cut his mic off, which I thought was weird. And this was what the guy was telling me. He's like, I don't understand why they didn't cut his mic. He just kept going. Well, they had to call security. Security had to escort this guy out while he was still rambling and yelling. Marvel is trying to defend themselves and then at some point got quiet because they didn't want to step in it.
Right.
Too much, obviously. Well, when he got out in the hallway, it wasn't just the retailer. There was other retailers that were on his side and demanding answers. And then some of the con goers were getting involved. They thought that was pretty important, and they saw that Marvel wasn't able to defend themselves, so they jumped in. So evidently, this was bigger than just your characters don't represent what's in the books. They were taking it as a whole racism issue. I don't have their quotes, so I don't know exactly what was said, but I just thought it was really interesting when he said that. He said it got out of control. They had to stop the panel. The guy was being irate. They had to pull him out with security. And then he didn't go out in the hallway, but he said it did continue out in the hallway, and there was a lot of yelling going on outside. So evidently that was a big thing. That was an issue. Wish I had a microphone to hear a lot of that.
Oh, yeah. I guess not a single person was recording.
Somebody's got that audio somewhere, or somebody had to pull out their phone. I'm going to look for it. I haven't had a chance, but I know somebody's got some video on that, because that'd be interesting to hear, unless Marvel put out a cease and desist on it. Who knows? Yeah,
sometimes there's certain agreements you fall under when you are at these panels, and whenever Disney's involved, they're tighter on. They've got a very tight leash on what you can release. Credit, I guess, to the VP and the editor for sticking around that, because they could have easily said, "No, guys, I'm leaving. Fuck off. I'm going back to my hotel." But from the sound of it, they stuck around and had conversations with these heated individuals.
Yeah, they did. Apparently they tried to deal with it as long as possible, but then it got too rampant because the person that was causing the problem kept pushing. It was too adamant. It wouldn't accept their answers. So whatever his stance was, he clearly wasn't winning. So that's when they got uncomfortable and just called security.
Yeah, it's a tough position to be in either way, because there's no winning. Once it gets like that, it's just as much damage control as possible at that point.
Yep.
But that does wrap it up for our news this week. Let us know what you thought of New York Comic Con. If there was something, obviously we can't cover everything from New York. I'd love to, do a 4-hour podcast, but it's just not feasible for anyone, listeners or Bobby and I. But if there was a story that you enjoyed from New York Comic Con that, you want Bobby or I to comment on, let us know on Twitter at Reasons I'm Broke. Bobby, what's your Twitter handle?
I'm at Cuban Slim. That's at Q. B as in boy, ANSLIM. And you tag me, I'll try to answer. I'm pretty active on Twitter. I don't follow Facebook too much, but Twitter, I'll answer you.
Twitter's the place to be. And with that, we can jump into we are going to talk about the Justice League trailer, and we're going to review Batman White Knight #1. But let's head first into our Patreon shoutouts of the week. This week, our first Patreon shout-out goes out to John. On Twitter, his handle is at John72Tex. He will be an upcoming guest for November 1st's episode.
Nice. Our other Patreon shout-out goes to Brian, at Brian Schaub1. He kept in touch the entire time with Kelly's delivery during Twitter, so I'm sure Daniel and Kelly really appreciate that, Brian. That's awesome. From what I hear, they're doing very well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brian, and Meg, of course. She was very concerned. They kind of shared their Twitter account, Brian, so she'll chime in, and then Brian will chime in, and yeah, they're the sweetest. They're always checking in on Kelly, on Leo, and they're awesome supporters of the show, obviously. They're beyond even Patreon. So thank you both so much, John and Brian, and to the rest of our Patreon backers. If you too would like your shout out every single month, for as little as $1 a month, equals out to 25 cents an episode, sometimes less when we have 5 episodes, head on over to patreon.com/thereasonsimBroke, and you too can get your shout out.
Oh, awesome. As a bat signal, that's your... Oh, sorry. That's your signal. That means we have to go now.
Yeah, that's what that means.
It's so cool.
Okay, so something really important happened, and Daniel, just be calm, because the Aquaman trailer has been... the Justice League trailer has been released featuring Aquaman. I know you've been super busy. I know you've had a very busy film schedule. I also know that you've been busy, with your boy Joey. Joey had those reshoots, and he's been keeping you busy. The new trailer has come, and it debuted. I thought it was pretty neat. I'll just let you know, according to media analyst ComScore, the Justice League trailer generated the most social media interactions this week with 190,000.
Right behind it was the second Star Wars The Last Jedi trailer with 123,000 unique interactions this week. If you had told me that Justice League's trailer would have done more than Star Wars' trailer, I would have called you fucking crazy, and it fucking happened.
I also think it has a lot to do with the time that it was released, because didn't they release this during peak time hour, the Justice League trailer?
Might have been, and that's another weird thing, because you figure Disney's always on top of it. They know what the peak days and hours to release these. They've done it since. They've done it so well with that first Star Wars trailer, Last Jedi. They know their shit. There's so much money behind the analyzing, but yeah, I do feel like Justice League's trailer dropped at a better time, but it was also received better. Like Star Wars, people know they're going to like it. It's more like, okay, yeah, great, I'm going to go see it. I love this trailer. But Justice League, it changed a lot of minds with this final trailer. It was really bizarre.
Yeah, the Justice League trailer, they debuted it during NYCC coverage, I believe. So it had max audience participation. Well, not max, but a higher level of participation. Whereas if you want to look at the Star Wars trailer, they've been doing this recently for the past few years with the Episode 7, and then they did it with Rogue One, where they've been releasing, because it's a Disney product and they own ABC, they've been doing, and which obviously owns ESPN, they've been releasing these trailers on Monday Night Football. So the problem with that is, yes, all the people see it on TV that are watching the football game, but everybody else is, because it's pretty late when they do it. They do it at like 9, 10 p.m. So a lot of your kids are out. You know, some of the teens are not paying attention. I mean, a lot of teens don't watch football. Mm-hmm. So they wait till they get the social media interaction probably the next day, you have to guess. So their peak is not as high. Yeah, they get max viewing audience on TV, but we're talking these numbers are social media interaction. So yeah, they probably hit a bigger audience on TV because of the exposure of Monday Night Football. But I mean, look how low it was compared to Justice League. That's a perfect example. And you said right behind. That's a big difference, 190 opposed to 123.
Let's talk about the Justice League trailer itself and your initial impressions for it. Now, I had one of our listeners at Dark Knight Drew. He said, I'm already going to see this. Do I need to watch this trailer? Is it spoilery? And I told him, credit to WB. There's some new action sequences in here that you may appreciate more if you see them for the first time on the big screen, but the story remains the same. And I still told them, like, we're within 6 months. Don't watch any trailers for Star Wars or Justice League or Thor Ragnarok if you don't want to risk any type of anything being spoiled, whether it's an action sequence or a story plot point. So I'm like, at your discretion, if you're already going to see it, might as well wait. It's another month. But to let you know, yeah, this is more action, less story. And to a lot of people, they said, you know what, this trailer, it sounds like it's improving. Like, I think I might feel better about Justice League after this third trailer. And I told one of my friends, like, look, every single one of these trailers has had a different tone to it. And it's because they're trying to hit different audience members. The first one was more, very first one it focused a lot on Aquaman. And it's because they weren't done filming yet. So whatever they were finished with already, they made a trailer out of that. And obviously I was hyped. Then the second one came out, and this was the Beatles cover of Justice League. And that was, I love that one too, but it was a different tone to it. And then this third one has an even different tone than the first two. And that's, again, as I explained to them, eventually one of these trailers, if they make them different enough, they're going to hit you. One of them is going to hit you and resonate with you. So in this case, this one was more poppy and more Hollywoody, more blockbustery. So I think that's why people responded so positively to it.
Are we going to dissect the trailer or talk about it? Because I know some people are worried about spoilers, that they don't watch the trailers.
Yeah, let's give them let's go briefly into the trailer. I think we can speculate on it, and hopefully I'm wrong on certain things. It's not like another Arkham Knight situation where I'm like, that's fucking Jason Todd. Then the game comes out like almost a year later, and it's like, oh shit, that is fucking Jason Todd. So here's your spoiler warning. If you haven't seen the trailer, we are going to talk about it, and also spoiler warning for Batman White Knight, because we're not going to completely spoil the issue, but we will review it and go over some of the important pages, and in this case, some of the important scenes with Justice League. Obviously, we don't have any kind of insider information. That's one thing it's a misconception that if you work at a comic book shop that you've seen the movies early or you've read the issues early. And the same thing happened at GameStop too when I worked there. People are like, oh, so you've played the new Red Dead Redemption yet? It's like, no, I I get it when you get it.
Well,
We don't get it early.
Technically, you have seen most of the movie because you've acted in most of it. You just haven't seen the final footage. So, I mean, we're almost there.
And, well, the thing is, Joey Whedon might have butchered the whole fucking thing, so it might be a whole different movie than what we end up getting. So this is your spoiler warning. If you don't want this new trailer spoiled for you, jump ahead maybe 10 minutes ish. Otherwise, I guess we'll see you next week.
All right. I want to start off with the first thing that we haven't seen in any of the trailers is we see Clark. Clark is there.
Yes.
Now, obviously, we're getting some dream sequence or some type of fast forward or rewind moment. However, we see Clark. All the other trailers have not had any reference to Superman except for him or you're here, and we don't know who they're talking about.
Yeah.
So the fact that we actually see Clark, and that's how the trailer starts, it's got a very soft tone to it. They're obviously trying to pull those emotional strings connected to Lois.
People loved it.
I thought it was great. I thought it was really good how they did that. They went to the whole Smallville feel. Very good. And that assures now people that, hey, that guy. But then obviously they make it look like a dream sequence. So they're still tilting you in a direction of uncertainty. But I think it's cool that they finally included Clark somehow, not Superman, but Clark in the trailer to let people know that, hey, this guy's still relevant. Something's going to happen. Stay tuned.
Right. And that's something someone said. They gave us Superman without giving us Superman. So it kind of satisfied that itch that people had of where's Superman? Is he not going to be in this? It's like, of course he's going to be in it. Of course he's going to come back and he's going to help out the Justice League and beating the shit out of Steppenwolf or possibly Darkseid. I don't know. And we have seen zero footage of Darkseid. We don't know if he's going to be in it. I'm sure he'll have at the very least some kind of cameo after they defeat Steppenwolf. But obviously Superman's going to come back. There's the clues are there, and you don't have a Justice League movie without Supes.
Yeah, and that whole rumor mill of the last trailer that we got right at the end when Alfred is like, hopefully you're not too late. When the water's shaking in the glass. Everybody kept saying that's Supergirl. Are you kidding me? Why would Supergirl make a glass tumble with water like a T-Rex does in Jurassic Park? Come on, really? Not Supergirl. Obviously, it's Superman, and we now know that he's going to be part of this movie. How can he not? He'll be there sometime, and then it'll probably be just in time whenever they do the Darkseid cameo or lead-in for the next movie.
Mm-hmm. It'll definitely be Black Suit's Superman, right? Didn't Henry Cavill already tweet out a picture back when they were first starting filming on Justice League of a close-up of the Superman S from Man of Steel, but it's all black and with black and silver. So they might be going with the return of Superman right after Death of Superman look, just like in the comics. So once again, it's the comics coming to life. It's the comics returning. It's Snyder giving us the books, the pages on the big screen.
They could also, I don't know how they do it. It'd be a little fancy, but they could use that as an excuse to do some type of Green Lantern tie-in with Blackest Night because he's wearing a black suit. But that's a whole different angle that won't make sense. But that's a whole nother thing because apparently there's this whole thing with the green flash of light, and that could be the Green Lantern. I don't know. I think it's bogus, but whatever.
Yeah, I think it's bogus as well. Well, like I was telling Kelly, she was saying maybe, wasn't there a thing of Unite the Seven early on? And I'm like, yeah, there was, and that hasn't really returned since then. And, like I was telling her, that was well before they were filming Justice League. This is back when they were still promoting BVS. It was before Batman v Superman came out. And they had this, the poster of Aquaman, and it said Unite the Seven. So we were going through like, okay, so we got Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Cyborg, The Flash. Oh shit, is that the seven right there? I think that's it. Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, right? Aquaman, The Flash, Cyborg. Oh, no, that's six.
That's six.
Yeah, that's six. So ever since then, they haven't brought back the Unite the Seven. So people were speculating who's the seventh member. Oh, it's got to be Green Lantern. But now we're getting word that the Green Lantern film is going to have both Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan. So maybe it's because of that they said, okay, no more Unite the Seven. We haven't written the script to Justice League. We initially were going to have a Green Lantern in the movie, but maybe the things have changed since then. Because we have not seen, instead it's All In or Justice for All. No more Unite the Seven.
I would hope they would do that. That's their way of introducing that character. That would be awesome to have just a random moment in the movie where, let's say they're in the heat of battle and it shows up or he shows up and we've got a Green Lantern all of a sudden and that story unfolds. I mean, that'd be amazing just to see that happen.
Do you think
or
it would
somehow tie it in.
Do you think it would be too blown up with too many new introductions? Because remember, we still have to unfold Aquaman, The Flash, and Cyborg in this Justice League movie. We've seen, the cameos in BVS, or the trailers. They were like little trailers in Lex's computer. But we haven't seen their story. And we are going to get Aquaman's. We know there's scenes of Atlantis. We're seeing Cyborg's origin in this. We've already seen scenes of that in the trailers. The Flash, we're going to see his powers, how he joins. They spend a lot of time on the Flash and Batman in these trailers, so they're spending a lot of time setting up these characters in this Justice League movie. Do you think it'd be another thing to then put in a Green Lantern at the end when Superman is supposed to have the spotlight of his return, to then do another return of another character?
No, I don't think so. I think DC has a formula that they've been using. I mean, look at BVS. When you saw BVS for the first time, were you confused or befuddled near the end of the movie seeing Wonder Woman at all?
No, because she was sprinkled throughout the film.
So in Justice League, we're going to get two-part here. We're going to get all these characters that are part of a good team sprinkled around. They're going to have their short origins. We already got reference of them, very short reference, obviously, in BVS. Wonder Woman has had her own origin movie at this point, so she can almost be ignored at this point. Superman, we don't need a retelling of Superman because we've had previous Superman movies. Cavill has had his own movie before this anyways, Man of Steel.
Wait, the one that started the whole DCEU.
Yeah, was it Man of Steel?
It was Man of Steel.
Yeah, Man of Steel. And then how many times do we need to retell the Batman origin? We don't need it. We got a very sprinkle light portion of it in BVS, and it's understood. We know it.
It was in the opening credits, yeah.
Yeah, so we've got that. It was told very quick. It was done short, simple, sweet, makes sense. We're good. And then the whole Martha thing. Well, with this movie, we don't need to focus on three characters automatically. They're taken care of. So now we can focus on a very short origin for Flash because he's been sprinkled in already. We know who he is and what he's doing. He's already had contact with Batman, obviously.
And people know who the Flash is in general.
Right.
Like the Joe Schmo knows exactly who he is, yeah.
Right, so it's not a foreign character. We just need to learn that particular character actor. Like he's going to be awkward funny. That's what they're aiming for with him, which is cool. He's like that in the books too.
Yeah, Wally West is not so much Barry.
True, fair enough. Barry's really awkward and straightforward because he's a nerd, whereas Wally is like front gunner.
Yeah,
and all ahead. But I think they're going to blend the two together to get that personality.
Right.
And then Aquaman is going to have his own origin movie. They're filming right now, so they can do a light presentation on him. And then what's going to overshadow everything, from what you can see, is he's going to have this comedic relief and do awesome things.
And he's a badass, right?
Yeah, I know you would like to talk more about it, but you're under wraps. You can't speak much about it. That's fine. But from the trailers, we can see that he is going to be hilarious. And let's be honest, it's going to be difficult to have him in a movie on city streets or out and about because his powers are in the water, not in the streets. So They have to make do with it, and that's why you see him riding the Batmobile. That's why you see Cyborg flinging him through the air to nail all the parademons. I meing, I think that's hilarious, and he's being funny about it. It's hilarious.
My man.
So that's going to be cool. And then Cyborg obviously will have his short thing introducing him. Not everybody knows who he is, let's be honest. But is he getting his own movie? I can't remember.
Initially, he was in the slate of movies, but Warner Brothers has ever since Jeff Johns came on board, that has been shifted and changed. So initially, we were going to see Cyborg, and I believe it was the Green Lantern Corps and Flash movie before 2020. The Green Lantern Corps was going to be in 2020, which would have been 3 years from now, and it could still happen, but it sounds like the plan now is to do Shazam earlier than expected. We're going to get Man of Steel 2, which people have been wanting. Wonder Woman 2 got put up to the forefront because it's a hell of a moneymaker and people loved it. Yep. And then the solo Batman movie. All of those got pushed ahead of Cyborg, Green Lantern, and The Flash.
Right. And let's be honest. Can we actually make a 2.5 hour movie with Cyborg? Probably not.
It's
not
tough.
A lot of people would
it's
care
tough,
for it.
yeah.
So it'd be smart to make a short, simple, sweet origin for him that makes sense in Justice League. They can dedicate 10, 15 minutes to that within flashbacks of story or whatever they want to do and tie him in easily to the story. Well, that covers the basis. You've got everybody talked about. The others are getting their solo films, and everybody else we've already seen their origins. So now you can focus on a random appearance, or it just happens where Green Lantern shows up. Awesome. Well, we kind of know who he is too, so that sets up his movie that's going to come later, whether it's Hal and Jon Stewart or just one of them, and then they resolve that whole issue in that movie. I mean, it. I think it would be good because it opens up another story point to lead into that movie, branching from the Justice League, because obviously he's a Justice League member at some point, so they could start building that. I don't know. I think it makes sense, but maybe we're asking for too much.
Yeah, we'll find out next month. If they save Green Lantern for the big Darkseid fight, whether, it's in Justice League 2 or whatever they end up doing, I'm happy with that too. I do think that the focus will be Supes in this particular movie. The big return, the build-up is going to be Superman, and so far people are responding really well. The one bit that everyone is forgetting, this may be a spoiler because he has not shown up in the trailers, but we know he's a part of the storyboards of Justice League because of what Snyder tweeted, and that is Deathstroke. Deathstroke, it has an interaction with Lex that it has a storyboard that Snyder tweeted out a picture of them filming with that storyboard out in front of him for Justice League. And this is obviously before, the post-production began. So we have yet to see Deathstroke in the Justice League film and the trailers. Obviously, he's going to be a very minimal point of the story. It'll be interesting to see why he shows up in Justice League, assuming they haven't cut his scene completely like they did with Suicide Squad and they cut out a bunch of the Joker scenes. But what do you think of Deathstroke showing up potentially, as obviously he's a setup for the Batman film, but showing up in Justice League?
I think it'd be great because a lot of people like Deathstroke. Deathstroke's pretty cool. They recently just brought him back on Arrow, which I think was awesome, and they included Manu Bennett as the same actor, which was really cool. So, I mean, keeping him relevant, even if it's a different actor, who cares? Deathstroke is a pretty important character, and if they even have just a 30, 45-second scene with him in there interacting with Lex, or maybe a couple minutes, or maybe they sprinkle some backstory with him throughout the movie, that'd be pretty cool because, one, it keeps interest on somebody that we're learning about, and especially people that don't know who he is, and that's setting up future story for something else that Batman's going to have to deal with later.
Right, and it also gives Lex, he has enough motivation to go after Batman. That one of the final scenes in BVS, when Batman is intimidating him in the jail cell and telling him, I'm going to throw you in Arkham. Lex has a vendetta against the Batman, I think, more than Superman right now, because he presumes that Superman is dead. So why not contract Deathstroke to, not necessarily to kill the Batman, but to find out more about him?
Yeah, just find out more about him and just get in his way, try to mess up his plans.
Exactly, disrupt. Yeah, I'm excited. We'll find out if he ends up showing up, but I think he definitely could fit at least in that kind of setup. And I know Warner Brothers they haven't done that with the DCEU. They've taken, as you mentioned, their own formula, their own approach to it. And that's something that Jeff Johns said, and we talked about it last week, I believe, in which they don't want their movies to just be a bridge to the next one. They want each one to be its own story. The story is about, exactly, Aquaman. It's about the Justice League, or it's about Man of Steel. It's not just, and then next time we'll see Darkseid, so tune in, So that's the only part that I'm like, okay, they'll do something more with Deathstroke than just, I'll see you in Gotham, wink, wink. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. We'll find out. I mean, it's November 17th, right? So
November 17th. That's right.
That's when we're going to find out, reveal all, and see what's going on and answer our questions. Hopefully we'll be super appreciative and surprised and not disappointed. I know although BVS made oodles and oodles of money, I mean, a lot of people had criticisms of it, of course.
Sure.
So we'll see. I'm interested. I think the current presentation looks much better than the previous two. They've definitely gotten better with enhancing the video and not making it look so cheesy. I think at one point Cyborg looked absolutely atrocious.
Yes, I agree.
Clearly, it was early footage. They've cleaned that up. He looks a little better. Hopefully the actor fulfills that role well, and it all falls into place, and we get the Justice League that we want.
As a reminder, once again, that is November 17th. I'll be there opening night. I'm sure you will too. You love these. You love comics. You love comic book movies, and you tend to go opening weekends, don't you?
I usually do. Work schedule dictates some of that, but I try to. For a while, I stopped because the crowds were ridiculous.
Yes.
But now, with the recent advent of reserved seating,
The
I'm game.
best.
It's amazing. You don't have to wait in a line anymore. You just buy your tickets and you show up and you got your seat waiting there for you all the time.
I know a lot of people hate it because they say, I can't just decide on a whim anymore. Like, hey, come on, babe, let's go to see Star Wars tonight. It starts in 30 minutes. Oh, wait, all the seats are reserved by a guy that reserved them a week ago. It's like, yeah, I mean, the trade-off is way better, though. Like, more people benefit from reserved seats than don't.
Since when do you go on a whim to a release night movie? Come on. Is that really a thing? I mean, if you're in a cave and you don't realize what's going around you, yeah, you're affected.
Yeah, sure.
But the true fans know what's going on. We plan our days. We know what's going. Like, what was it? We're going to talk about it in a second. But the Star Wars, as soon as that trailer came out, they made tickets available. Those tickets have been selling like hotcakes. Their theaters already sold out. That's how it goes.
Yeah, when the hell are the Justice League trailer or tickets going out? Because I've immediately went to AMC and Cinemark, and they're like, nope, not yet. I'm like, God damn it, man! I want to get my seats now. but
yet, Star Wars comes out in December, and we're getting tickets already.
That's fucking nuts.
That's Disney. That's Star Wars.
Disney, yeah. Yeah, let's move into the Star Wars trailer. That's something that I didn't have the date set up for. I think it's right before Christmas, or maybe it is Christmas Day. I think you have more of an affinity for Star Wars than Kelly and I do.
Yeah, I'm not. I will say I'm not into Star Wars as much as Chris and Aaron. Like they're all over Star Wars. But I'm a fan. I've watched it since I was little. I'm not obsessed with it either. But I think this trailer revealed a whole lot. My philosophy going on this whole time, even before this trailer this week, was that Luke is going to go dark. Luke is going to have to seek balance. And we see that in the trailer. Like, I can't believe the way he looks when he realizes the power that he sees Rey have. It almost made me scared the way he looked. Like, he is, like, literally crapping his pants.
I mean, that pretty much confirms that Kylo and Rey are brother and sister, I think. Because he says, the last time I saw that was years ago, and then they cut to the fucking Jedi school burning up, which I think is Kylo Ren.
Yeah, I've suspected that Rey and Ben Kylo. That Kylo's name is Ben.
Right.
I've thought that they've been brother sister this whole time, and people have their different ways of thinking, and they say, no way, that's impossible. I have thought that way the whole time, so I hope that gets confirmed because I just felt that way.
Another feather in your cap.
Yeah, another feather in the cap. That's right. But Luke, I have said since the first trailer and seen the first poster where he's shadowed in red on one side, and Kylo is shadowed in red on the other side, and Rey's in the middle with the blue light, like the ray of hope, if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at all previous Star Wars colors and trailers and posters and how they dictate things, blue is the light and red is the dark. Mm-hmm. So if they've got Luke in red, what does that tell you? He's dark. So, or that's a trick. But if you look at what they've always shown us, red means bad. And based on this recent trailer, I mean, the first one, he says, the Jedi Council must end. I must end the Jedi. Obviously, this is called The Last Jedi. So we're trying to figure out who the Last Jedi is. Is it Luke? Is it Rey? Is it someone we don't know?
Well, in the opening credits of 7, it does say Luke Skywalker, The Last Jedi, and then it continues in the scroll. So people know The Last Jedi is Luke Skywalker.
Fair enough. But people still argue saying it's not him. Oh, it's Rey, because Rey's, the new one that he's supposedly going to teach. I still think that based on this recent trailer, you see him freak out, and obviously in some of the images, he's wearing a cloak in an evil manner. I firmly believe that he's going to turn evil on purpose. And someone out there, correct me if I'm wrong, tweet me, answer me. I'm pretty sure part of Star Wars canon, he does go evil to create balance. So if that's the case, why would he not go evil in this movie to create balance? Obviously, he knows where his sister is. He knows at some point they have a connection. They can feel each other through the Force. They know what's going on. So I think he goes about this mission alone, and he does it to try to be the greater good. He knows what's going on. He's a powerful Jedi. We're probably going to learn more about him in this movie. Obviously, he's been MIA forever.
Yeah.
And they kind of talked about that he's AWOL, and he hasn't been discovered or seen or found. Rey found him. So hopefully we get a lot of dialogue there. We get some backstory. But I really think he's going to go evil, and it's for good purpose. And that might be how the movie ends, and we have to wait for episode 9 to wrap it all up. And that's when he'll come back to the light and explain exactly why he did all this. I don't know what he's going to do. but I think that's what. Remember, he's missing a hand. If you're missing a hand, you're bad.
That's, you know what? That's true, isn't it?
So we just got to follow logic here. That's what I'm sticking with.
And much like his dad, he'd be switching sides at the very end.
There we go.
If this plays out. Yeah, that's interesting. I've heard that theory before, and I know exactly what you're talking about in the Dark Horse books, I believe, or in one of the novels. Yeah, he does learn the dark side, and Leia becomes a Jedi, and obviously that's not canon anymore ever since Disney bought it, but that story has been told, so they can reference or, rework it in this to fit this particular narrative. And the only argument I would have is that fans would be upset if they bastardized Luke like that. But then, if they hadn't killed Han Solo, which fans were very upset at, I would have been like, you know what? They killed Han Solo. They'll do whatever they want with the rest of the characters.
Don't fall for that trap either. He's coming back. He'll be back.
No way. You think so?
Absolutely. Yep. He's coming back. I told Aaron and Chris that, and they shake their finger at me like, nope. They think I'm just trolling him, but nope. He'll be back. I firmly believe since he went out that way, he's going to come back. This is Star Wars. We didn't see the body. It just fell. And then the next excuse is, well, the whole planet exploded. Doesn't matter. Darth Maul exploded and Darth Maul survived and his legs were cut off and fallen down a pit. So if Darth Maul can survive, Han Solo can survive. That's my take. So Han Solo will be back at some point in some form. And then my other theory is that Rey and Ben are brother and sister. The mother is obviously Leia. And Leia, we're going to have a scene with Leia and Rey, and that's how Leia is going to be pass on, however means they do it. And they will be together, and she'll find out that that's her mother. I think they're going to replicate that scene, what they did with Luke and Anakin, and it'll be a mirroring force there. Pardon the pun. Mirroring analogy with the two sides.
And this segment has been Bobby's Bombastic Theories. And,
I can't wait for the trash to come. I don't care. It's just my thought. I'm not going to fight you. This is just what I think.
No, it's cool. Very cool. Let us know, again, what you thought of the Justice League trailer and Star Wars The Last Jedi's recent trailer on Twitter, @ReasonsI'mBroke and @CubanSlim. Let's head into a final bit of the podcast, and that is our comic book highlight for the week. This week we've got Batman White Knight #1. It is a miniseries, a total of 8 issues. It used to be 7. They extended it to 8. Writing and art by Sean Murphy, with colors by Tom Hollingsworth.
So I read this. I'm sure you read it too, right?
Oh, yeah. That was the very first book I read from that week.
I didn't know what to expect reading into it, like especially the first page, especially the way it starts. But I was actually really surprised getting to the end. It pulled me as I read through it. It starts off with that forward thinking, like present day. This is what happened. This is what's going on. And then the rest of the issue is backstory, like how we got to that point.
Yes.
And that build was great. It's very well done. The artwork is on point.
It's beautiful.
It matches the tone. I like the way the Batmobile looks. There's like 2 spots where it's on fire because he's driving so fast.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
The approach, I'll just mention it. You talk about it because you can talk about it more than I can. The approach of Batman chasing Joker through the city, that was unique, especially on the rooftops. You got Nightwing showing up. You got Batgirl's there. And then, of course, how it started with Batman's in chains against the wall, and Napier's the one who walks in with the GCPD. And it's role reversal. And that's what caught me right when starting. I was like, whoa, what is going on? I know this is an Elseworld book, but where are they going with this? Because this is weird. And then you start off with that whole chase, and this is what's happening. And then the whole lead up into, Batman pretty much, they're portraying him as being this violent, very violent vigilante, and then inadvertently cures the Joker. And the Joker ends up being somewhat cured and sane. But now you've got the GCPD attacking Batman because he's out of control. And you've got the present day mind with the media attacking this as not police brutality, but the police standing back and letting a vigilante beat up a citizen.
Yes. Because
all of a sudden the Joker is sane and not insane. He's got his own legal defense apparently. And he's taken the role of like, how dare you support this vigilante chasing after me for years and beating me up. Look, it's on video. Like, look at all these tales that have been recorded. So that's my take. I think it's phenomenal. I think this is setting up something really cool where they change sides. I'm interested to see how this develops, because its lead off is really, really good.
And as Sean said on Twitter, this is the first time that they do refer to the Joker as Jack Napier, as we know from the Batman '89 film from Tim Burton. So this is I don't know if there was some kind of contract change with Jack Nicholson because he made X amount of dollars every time they used the Joker. I don't know if that expired or that whatever happened. There is now more Batman '89 references in the books. I don't know if you've noticed, but there was a cover for Gotham Academy that came out about 5 months ago, and it was the Vicky Vale and Batman, How Much Do You Weigh? Except it was reversed with one of the students and Damian Wayne, and she's asking, how much do you weigh? And then there's been, this Jack Napier thing has been in here. A lot of the creators on Twitter have been retweeting and doing Batman '89 artwork again, and just even as fan art. So it's like, you guys are working on something Batman '89 behind the scenes. And I don't know, again, what changed, but I thought that was really interesting that Jack Napier is now not exactly canon, but being used in one of the hottest books of the month.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting as soon as they said the name. And it's funny because the cop like stutters, like he doesn't want to say the name. And then I read it fully and I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Where's this going? And then the next panel, obviously, Batman's chained up. And I just thought that was, and of course he looks like Bruce Wayne. He's got the silhouette of Bruce Wayne, and then you see him come into view and it's not Bruce Wayne. It's the Joker. It's
a little bit creepy too, and unsettling that Batman is going over the edge in a bit. He's more violent. Robin has noticed it. Batgirl, he's like, this is why I left. I couldn't deal with it anymore.
Yeah, just leave, he says.
Yeah. And I'm like, Nightwing, you can't deal with anything. This is why you're not Robin. You just, go do your own thing. And in his defense, Batman puts a shit ton of pills down the Joker's throat, which is not a Batman thing to do.
Yeah, he crams it in his mouth. And then you even see some of the cops like, hey, should we be stopping that? And you see Gordon's just standing there, just stoic, doing nothing, not saying anything. And meanwhile, you see somebody with their camera phone videotaping the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and this whole thing is going to unfold as, can a sane Joker clean up Gotham more than Batman? It is Joker proving the point of, I'm just your therapy. You think I could have wiped you out? I could have killed you at any point. I could have wiped out all of Gotham at any time. You don't think I could have done this? You think that this is all I'm capable of, that you just barely keep ahead of me? No, this is a game I like to play, and I'm your therapy, and Batman can't accept that. Batman's like, no, I'm stopping you every time. So I think to prove his point, Joker is going to clean up Gotham better. It's almost like the superior Spider-Man a little bit of, I can clean up New York City. I can clean up Gotham better than Spider-Man. I can clean it better than Batman.
Yeah. I also think that you're going to see Bruce tested in some weird manner, like in his psyche, because Joker's going so far above what he's used to, and he's defenseless because he's held captive either in Arkham or somewhere. Forget the role reversal, but just the fact that he won't be in control. Batman is always in control and he has a plan. Well, I think in this scenario, he's not in control. He doesn't have a plan. So the Joker will finally get to him, and that's where you see the full 360 view of role reversal with Psyche versus Psyche.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how this plays out. And this was only issue 1. From what I understand, it is sold out at many shops. It's going to a second printing. If you can find one, great. If not, pick up a second printing or wait for the trade, because so far it is a hell of a story, and I can't wait for issue 2.
2 things I noticed with this book, though. Did you notice on the cover, on the I think it's the W, you see the 3 diamonds for Harley Quinn?
Yeah.
So I'm guessing we're going to get some tie-in with that, obviously. It'll be interesting how that goes. Are they going to do a Harley that supports Joker, or she'll be the middle person? Who knows?
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll find out if she continues to be the tool, or
cling to Bruce. Maybe she'll be the psychiatrist for Bruce as Harley and Quinn.
Oh man, that would be amazing. That'd be great.
That might be where we're going with that.
And she becomes possible. Robin? That'd be nuts. Yeah. That'd be great. Oh man, I would love that.
And the other thing I noticed is there's no warning on the book. There's a couple word drops in there with language. Joker says in the flashback sequence, he says that that they're together. They always fight, but they had him and Batman. They fight each other, and they're there to have makeup sex. And then the next thing, it's Bullock. I think Bullock is mad, and he's saying something about that asshole. And then later on, he's I think it's the reporter that's coming up to Bullock and trying to find out why nothing's being done about Batman. And he says, "No, this is bullshit," like that. Like, so you have three language things that are barriers for like comic books, and there's no warning on the label. Not that I care, but I just thought that was weird, because when I saw that, I was like, wait, is this a mature book? Because you usually see the mature banner somewhere. Mm-hmm. There's no mature banner. So I don't know what it is with that. Maybe because it's a pure DC book, right?
It is, yeah.
So I don't know. I don't have an answer for it. Do you have an answer?
The only thing I can think of, like, they've got the teen on the front, but so are the Detective comics, so is Batman and all of those. I think that we've reached that point in content and comics where certain, language and gore and violence aren't as shocking as it was, say, even 10 years ago. So I think that might be, they don't say fuck yet, and you don't see the middle finger. And that's something that they have censored, and I don't think we will see that. But I think this is just one of those, like, okay, these words are more commonplace than they were, a decade ago. So that's the only thing I can think of, aside from the fact that this is not directly a Batman book, so they can kind of, they can have Batman shoving pills down the Joker's throat, which is an image you would think you'd see. And you are seeing this in here. So I think that's the only thing, is that it is an Elseworld story. They can sort of get away with more without them calling it a Vertigo book. So that's the only answer I have.
Okay. I just thought it was different when I was reading it. It's definitely a gritty book, but the language threw it over the top, and I was like, wow, how was this presented? I immediately looked for the cover to see if it had the mature warning on it. It didn't. I was surprised.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that is our comic book highlight. Obviously, we both enjoyed it very much. That was, again, Batman the White Knight, number 1 of 8. And that does wrap up the podcast for the week. I do want to thank you, Bobby, and of course the future Brokettes that are going to be on the show, for filling in for Kelly and helping us out as we go through this journey of parenthood.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be part of it. I thought this was a lot of fun. I hope the listeners enjoyed as well. If you don't, feel free to torture me on social media. No problem. Don't care. It's fine. Or if you enjoyed it and you want me back sometime in the future, I'd be glad to help out wherever necessary. I hope, more importantly, little Leo is doing very well, and Kelly is doing well, and you guys are enjoying your time together, because I know this is a super exciting time for you guys.
Yeah, thank you very much again, and do let the Brokette Core know where they can find you.
Yeah, guys, you can find me at Cuban Slim. That's at Q, B as in boy, ANSLIM on Twitter. And you tweet me, I'll answer. I'll interact. And awesome. If you need some amiibo info, I'm a big collector on amiibos, as Daniel has said before.
Yes, he is
Amiibo Hunter.
The Amiibo Hunter. If you got questions on amiibo figurines, he will let you know what the word on the street is. This guy is on top of it.
Yeah, we're about to get some new releases here soon. Real quick, we're going to have there's 2 more Fire Emblem releases. We got Crom coming out.
Kelly's favorite, yep.
The other character, which I can't remember the name right now. So there's 2 coming out for sure. They're not sold as a double pack. It's sold as singles. So there'll be 2 singles coming out really soon.
So there you go. Amiibo questions, comic books, and Marvel. If you're as excited about Thor Ragnarok as Bobby is, sharing the excitement, shoot him a tweet at Cuban Slim. Otherwise, you can follow the podcast, Kelly and I. Head on over to thereasonsimbroke.com. You will find the link near the bottom of the front page of all of our social media accounts, including Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, LinkedIn, everything. And that's all, once again, at thereasonsimbroke.com. So thank you so much again, Bobby, for joining us on this week's episode. Next week, we'll have a new guest, a different voice on the show, followed by yet another one. And again, give us feedback. Let us know what you thought. Kelly will be back in 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm not sure how many episodes, but she will be back. And rest assured, she is recovering. She's not at 100%. But she is overall healthy, and Leo's healthy, and we're all okay. So thank you so much for the concern. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Bobby.
And I'll see you next week.
Have a good week, guys.